know she's crazy, but I only wanna be with you. You think I'm shady cause I'm out here trying to make some moves, but it ain't like that. Just know that I'll be right back. I give you all my time just to let you know you're mine. It ain't nothing, promise I'ma do it all to give you something. This love I got is only for you. You're my comfort, my future husband. I'ma give you all my heart, yeah, all of it, yeah. Baby, I know that I gotta come fix it. You the only nigga that I be missing. Swear I'm coming home to give you the business. Turn off my phone, it can leave me a message. I'ma just cover your body with kisses, kisses. Rub your body down, you know that I miss it, miss it.
Glasses in the air, toast to a higher power. Cause what you tuning into right now,
sit down,
it's Lito's Happy Hour. Lito's Happy Hour, this is where it's at. Raw and uncut, we giving real facts. Educating, entertaining all the people. And when it come to podcasts, it ain't nothing equal. Giving people knowledge they can put in action. All the way authentic, we ain't never capping. Exclusive interviews, cause we ain't never lacking. The other state is talking and we bout the action. Glasses in the air, toast to a higher power. This is Lito's Happy Hour.
All right, yo, we're gonna go ahead and get it popping. You know what I'm saying? Everybody that came through, man, I appreciate y'all. Welcome to B.A.R.S. You know what I'm saying? This is for everyone, men, women, children. I just felt like it was, something that everybody needed. I came up with B.A.R.S. because I was sitting and I was thinking, and God said, maybe you should do something kind of related to what you care about in music. With me in music, I always cared about, lyrics. My favorite rappers are all lyricists. I care about people who have something to say. And those are also people who I like to surround myself with. So with that being said, I have, my brother Lamar Lewis on here. You know what I'm saying? He was a lyricist back in the day. You know what I'm saying? But no, he still, breaks down everything that he does for people. It's also, it's lyrically, inclined, you know what I'm saying? So also I got my guy Alex on here, Alex PA. I met Alex because we have a men's group every Thursday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we all got close, and my brother Lamar puts that together for us. And we all get in there, we talk, we tell each other, what's going on in our lives. We support one another and we just show brotherhood, you know what I mean? So without further ado, I'm gonna let my guy Alex come on and, tell us his story.
Can y'all hear me? I know I got, I'm sorry for the noise in the back. I'm at this festival and there's a lot going on, so you gotta excuse me for it. But a lot of my story begins back in growing up in DC with both my parents at the time. And I'm oldest of 3 boys. And by the time I hit 12, my mom or my dad left the house on Christmas, and my mom got arrested that August. And so me and my brothers had to move to New York with my dad, who was living with like my aunts, my cousins, my grandma. So it was like 10 of us in this 3-bedroom house. But in spite of all this stuff that was just going on in my life and I was dealing with at this age, I still focused on my education, and that allowed me to go to the college. And when I was in college, my sophomore year, there was a racial incident that happened where some lacrosse players got intoxicated one night. They put all these racial and derogatory remarks all over the body, and they posted on Facebook. And so I was going to go to law school so I can make good money, become a corporate attorney, and then I'm able to give back to my neighborhood. I'm in New York, but during my sophomore year in college, when this racial incident happened, I started this organization called Rising Sons, and as a way of empowering the Black male students on campus. And so we used to do silent protests by eating dinner together in our suits, and everybody was trying to figure out why in the world these Black boys is wearing suits, eating together. But it was a sign of us showing that we're on campus, but it's our way of showing fellowship. And then we started doing community service projects. And then I found out there's a way that I could help the black men in my group get hands-on experience in their majors by helping us out within our organization. So I had some guys who had a career, a major in graphic designs. He came up with our logo. One of them was really big on tech. He did our website. So everyone had their little mix of things they could at least start putting on their resumes. Because a lot of times you can't get an internship because you don't have any experience in college. And so this was a chance for my guys to actually get hands-on experience, so they become qualified with some experience so they can go to get an internship. And so after I graduated, I joined an organization called CityAir so I can gain some skills and experience and started a nonprofit. And that's when I launched Rising Sons in Philly to get Black men to become change agents in their neighborhoods by becoming mentors to boys in our high school and middle school programs, because we had designed a whole rites of passage movement, and then we had them doing community service projects. Unfortunately, doing that work, I lost 4 of my boys to murder. And I live in Philly right now, and if y'all know, probably in your own cities, that murder has been a huge crisis in our neighborhoods. And so I'm dealing with grieving of my boys, and rely on and have a good relationship with their moms. That's what keeps me going, because the moms that stay strong, I should be able to stay strong too. So we are a huge support system for each other. One of my best friends, he got who I ended up hiring, he got killed last year. So it made number 5, and it made me think a lot about the work that we were doing. I decided to take Rising Sons in our work, because anyone knows trying to find money to raise the money to do the work, it ain't easy. There's really not that much money that you can get access to when you're, especially when you're Black, trying to do a grassroots organization. You're just doing the things because you see a need, but you don't realize that there's all these other implications that go with that. And so I struggled in the beginning, started this nonprofit to get money. It was really tough. And then I got a contract to work with Jordan Brand and Nike, and that opened up the doors to start bringing more revenue. And so I started getting grants. And then I decided, as we started to lose the people in our group, I wanted to find ways to become more inclusive. So I launched what we called One's Up. One's Up is means that you and I are one, and we rise together. And the model is, how do you bridge the economic gap for young people that's focused on economic mobility, meaning that we're helping them connect with companies that's more aligned to their passion. So our young people are getting jobs and careers based off their passion rather than what people tell them they need to do or what's trendy. It's more about letting on their passion. We also do healing and wellness work with our young people, and also community service projects. So just knowing where I was then, and been able to raise, during the pandemic, $3 million to really, between my space, to hire staff, hire my young people to do the work. It takes me places like this to be at, so I could find more funders and access to resources. And it's I'm hungry, and there's so much more that I want to accomplish and do. But this has been an amazing journey. Now I have One's Up that's really looking at how we could give young people the chance to live out their dreams, knowing that we are living a time where people can ask young people all the time what they want to be when they grow up, and never provide anything for them. And I got sick and tired of that. And so if I want to ask the young people what they want to be when they grow up, I'm paying them to actually work for a company that's based off of their passion. And that's how I disrupt the way that we do work. I'm tired of the same traditional programs that are failing our young people. And I'm here about how do we change and disrupt these systems so that the staff that runs these organizations are on the same page and being more effective and adequate with their work so that we can provide more adequate programs for our young people. So I'm just excited about the future, the things we have in store. But Kev, I appreciate you for holding this space. As a leader, I could not be able to do the work that I'm doing unless I was taking care of myself, which is why I appreciate our Thursday gatherings with Lamar that he holds for us. Because when you're a Black man doing this work, a lot of times you feel misunderstood, and you got to put a lot on your plate because you got to pour so much of yourself, and there's not that much being poured back into you. And it happens a lot, and there's a lot of expectations that you're supposed to take it because you're a Black man. And which is why I appreciate the space that we have, because it really allows me to express myself, be vulnerable, share things, and get some of the most wisest wisdom for the most common everyday man I could think of. And so I appreciate that. And then the last thing, I was gonna just mention, I want to be in a position to help more Black organizations raise the money that they deserve, because there's a huge equity gap. I'm glad I'm able to raise the money I'm able to do what I'm able to do, but the amount of sacrifices I took to get to this position, white people don't got to do this stuff. And it's a shame that I have to work 20 times as harder just to get half the stuff that they get. But I believe it's also my job to help support other Black organizations that want to get out those barriers and want to grow their organization and raise money and scale their programming. So stuff like this, like you're doing, Kev, it means a lot to me. I don't care where I'm at this whole big festival, but I'm at the timeout, Kev, to come do this, bro, because of the relationship. Like, you call me, you check up on me, and little stuff, small stuff like that goes a long way, that people don't realize. So, I appreciate that about you, so, but thank you again for being part of this space.
I appreciate you, bro. Before you go, I just want to ask you, like, so what do you say to kids who, are, maybe looking at you, because, this is going to be on YouTube, this is going to be, heard, throughout the world. So kids who come from the same background as us, but don't, because so much going on in the world, they don't really have, the resources. They don't really have that person that big brother to talk to like we do on Thursdays. They don't really have some of that stuff. So like, what do you say to like kids that you meet in Philly, like, and they going down the wrong path, but you just, trying to get them to, I guess, wake up, so to speak?
Well, for me, I just listen. I listen. I ain't telling young people what they need to do. I listen about what they want to do, and give them that space. I believe in the power, the creativity, and the influence of young people. I believe that it's that adults need to start believing and trusting in our young people that they got the answers. They're still grooming them the answers, but they know a whole lot. They know a whole lot more than we think we do, and we gotta start having more faith in them. And I want young people to start having more value in themselves, because I know that there's places and times where we don't feel loved or valued or worthy of anything. And it's unfortunate that a lot of that times come down to the people around us. And I just want young people just to realize that in spite of how you feel right now, you are worth every single drop of life and breath that you come out of your mouth and nose, in spite of everything else. And it's tough right now, but if you work hard now, if you work smart now, you can play harder later. But it's all about the sacrifices, dedication, commitment, and discipline you put in now, in spite of everything, to get what you want. Because I always believe to get what you never had, you have to do things you never done. So yeah, maybe like that.
Thanks. That's what's up, bro. I appreciate you, man. How can people reach out to you if they want to try to, learn more about One's Up?
Yeah, our website is onesup.org. Also, I'm on the gram, Rising of the Sun, and Sun is spelled SON. And also on Facebook, Alex PA too. So yeah. I'm always accessible. I just want to see Black people grow and get what we rightly deserve. So however I can do my part in that, that's what I'm about, that life about.
Word, no doubt, man. Listen, I appreciate you coming on, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know you out there in Cali and you, you know what I'm saying? Like, you on a business trip, but you was able to come and bless us for a minute, bro. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, bro.
I appreciate you too, Kevin. It says a lot about you, man. It says a lot about you, man. So I appreciate you. Love y'all.
Thanks, bro.
All right. Peace.
Yeah. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Alex came on, dropped some jewels for us, dropped some gems. You know what I mean? In his busy schedule, you know what I mean? I appreciate him. Like that's the kind of brotherhood we have on Thursday nights when we do our thing, you know what I mean, every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. Sometimes we go to 9:30, you know what I mean? Because we all just be chilling and talking and, sometimes it get deep. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's all good though. Up next, it's my brother, Lamar Lewis. Man, it's a lot I can say about you, bro, because you always been there for me. You know what I'm saying? You are my brother, you know what I'm saying? Blood wouldn't make us any closer. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm gonna let you do your thing, bro. I don't wanna, take away from anything that you're gonna say.
You wouldn't be taken away from nothing I have to say, sir. I never know the order, but I know when the pastor's on, I know I'm not going last. So I'll take it personal. I was like, am I gonna be last today? Nope. The pastor's here. Nope, pastor gonna close the shows. Let's go ahead and say my piece and pass the collection plate. No, I'll just play. But no, in all seriousness, man, I appreciate you for the opportunity, man. I'm glad that I'm a repeat request to share what I have. So, if I was bad, you wouldn't invite me back. So I'm glad that I got something that people can benefit from when they want to listen to me again. I give thanks for that. And I thank you as well, man, for continuing to push forward and push your platform forward, man, and giving people an opportunity to just have a space to heal, grow and develop, whether that be mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The world is definitely better and our people are definitely better because you're here. And I want to just make sure I say that and give you your flowers, Black man, because you deserve them. I also want to give flowers to your wife as a support for you. She deserves them. And I'm just grateful that I can be a positive influence in your life. And I'm just hopeful that I can continue to do so, which leads me to my story. I didn't really know where to go with this. So I got some notes. That's kind of what I was finishing scribbling up. So don't take it no kind of way. If I go too long, just give me the
Nah, you good. You Gucci.
You can raise your hand and I'll shut up. But no, in all seriousness.
All right, do your thing, bro.
Yeah, for sure. So when we talk about my story specifically, my story is definitely shaped by the fact that for my fundamental years in life, I was raised by a single mom. My biological father and I do not have a relationship. He is also a pastor, a man of the cloth. So by default, I am a preacher's kid. That is a whole story that if you want to talk to me about it offline, we can. I'm not about to spend this time talking about all of that, right? But it's important to bring up because one of the things that I find in the work that I do as a therapist and a counselor and a community advocate, it's just somebody who's a servant and someone who's been blessed to be in a position of leadership in life and leading men and leading people, is that many of us have shared trauma around lack of support in their caregiving, right? Whether that be dysfunctional family, that could start from parents, that could start from grandparents, surrogate parents, neighborhood you in, lack of resources. I mean, all of the negative outcomes that a lot of people face. And so, but with that, why I bring that up is because my issues with my father forced me to learn a lot of stuff early on my own and figure some stuff out on my own. And it's interesting that Alex and you brought up the Thursday men's sport group, because one of the questions that was asked was when, I think you may have asked, when did you figure out you were a man? And I turned 40 this year. My answer was 40. And I'm still figuring it out. You know, there's so many things that I didn't know, I don't know. And at a point in my life, I felt ashamed by that. But now I realize that without those experiences, I couldn't do the work I do as effectively as I do. There's so many young people who come to me hurting and in pain. There's so many men, grown men, who come to me in pain. There's so many couples who come to me in pain due to wounds that just haven't healed. So I never professed to be a preacher, but that doesn't mean the gifts aren't there. And my gifts are just applied in a different way. I would never come in the pastor's pulpit and try to out-preach him. That ain't my gift. I'm not going to do that, right? But if the pastor pulled me to the side and said, hey, man, brother such and such, you talk to somebody. I got you, big dog. That's where my gift is, right? And it's not just talking to somebody. Something Alex alluded to is listening. So I'm the guy who's been a therapist my whole life. I'm the dude who people come up to in the grocery store while I'm deciding what salad I'm going to grab. They want to just start talking to me about their life. Excuse me, brother. Hey, man, let you get some salad. Listen, man, my wife, man, she just, sir, I don't know you. Why are you giving me all this personal information? I don't know. You know, these things, this story of my life. And I get that from my biological father. Why is that important? When you spend so much time hating a person, you deny parts of yourself that remind you of them. I'm going to say that again. I don't know if everybody caught that. When you spend your whole life hating a person, there are things about yourself that you deny.
You gotta let that breathe, bro.
Oh, let me sip. I'm drinking this. I usually don't drink Coca-Cola. I'm drinking it right now because I had to take a nap before I got on the call. Y'all don't judge me. I'm not as my usual vibrant self. It's been a long day.
Yeah, you definitely gotta let that breathe.
For sure. Well, I think that's important to say because, like I said, I've always been doing this work. I just didn't notice what I was doing, right? It wasn't until I became a man and a father and a husband that I realized this was part of my story, right? And despite the fact that I have had a lot of anger towards an individual, does not mean there's nothing positive that came from that experience, which leads me to my point. I'm trying to drill this down. I'm gonna call it the 6 M's. All right, 6 M's. Keep these 6 M's in your mind. I'm going to flesh this out maybe one day and type this out and make this something nice and pretty. But for right now, these are the 6 things that came to me. And I'm using them in couplets, right? So the first couplet is mindset and mentors, okay? And when I talk about mindset, I talk about primarily having an orientation towards learning, being open and not just learning for the sake of learning, but taking mistakes and learning from those mistakes and taking the mistakes of other people and learning from those mistakes to improve myself and improve my condition and improve my environment. I feel like if I did not have that orientation towards learning, I would have succumbed to the negativity that so many of us do. When people hear about some of my backstory, they're often like, well, why would you keep, pushing through? Why would you keep doing all that? I don't know no other way. I don't have an answer for that outside of the fact that I've been raised and designed to learn from mistakes and not take mistakes as final, right? But take mistakes as a way to facilitate success because okay, this doesn't work now. Let me do something different. With that, resilience is a part of my mindset of my story. I've taken a lot of L's. I'm willing to admit that, right? Not everything I've done and everything I do has been quote unquote the right way or successful, right? But through that, I have learned the ability, as much to me, the ability to fail and get back up and do it again is a lot more beneficial than to do it right the first time. When you have success initially at something or you don't put in the effort to improve. But when you fail at something, you take the time to improve and get better because you weren't good at it at first. We all have natural gifts and talents and abilities that we've been blessed with. I naturally am good at talking to people, right? So for a long period of time, I didn't feel like I needed to learn how to cultivate that skill because I know how to talk. That's not necessarily true, right? You have to continue to develop and grow, and even stuff you're strong in. And that's kind of what resilience is. Lastly, as it relates to mindset, is having insight and perspective, right? How you view the world will determine how you move in it. If you view the world as this negative place that everybody's out to get you, that's all you'll get and that's all you'll find. And for a long period of my life, that's how I viewed the world. Based on what I went through in my life, I felt like everybody was out to get me. Everybody would disappoint me. Everybody would let me down. There was no love in the world for Lamar. And when I began to shift that perspective, my life improved significantly because I realized there was a lot more good than I was giving myself, my people, and the world credit for, right? And with that comes insight, being able to look into yourself. And for me, a gift I have is being able to look into other people and find in them what they can't find in themselves. And that leads me to my next point of mentorship and coaching. I'll give a brief story to make this make sense. How many years? This had to be before the pandemic. One day my son was for some reason my son was with me for a day. We just was moving around doing stuff. And one of the things I did was I went to a therapy session with my therapist I was seeing at the time. And, he just was in the waiting room while I was having my session or whatever. And when we were leaving and getting in the car, he was like, I got a question. He might have been like 14, 15. I was like, what's up? He's like, hey man, why do you have a therapist? Aren't you a therapist? I said, absolutely. I was like, well, Kobe had a coach. LeBron had a coach. Even the best players need somebody to point some stuff out to them where they can improve. He's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And I correlate that with my experience because due to the fact of not having a father, right? I didn't know this at the time, but I developed insight in myself and realizing that throughout my life, I've always sought the counsel of older men, especially older Black men. And having them in my life as certain key components has definitely helped push me through, right? Because there are things you just don't know when you're going through and trying to figure stuff out, right? So you have to have these models there for you to improve and give you another perspective. That also leads to your development, right? So beyond the coaching, you have to continue to seek mentors so you can develop yourself. Even if they don't know they're your mentors, they are mentors that I have. If you look behind me, I'm gonna duck my head down. I know I got a big head, let me duck it down. That gentleman right there, Muhammad Ali, is my mentor. Though I have never met him, he has since transitioned to be with the ancestors. Why is that? Because I looked at his model. I admired the humanitarian that this person was, right? So we view mentorship purely as a person who we pay and we meet every month or whatever. No, these are people, whether they be physically here to help offer you feedback and advice and counsel, or these are people whose model that you look at and you try to emulate, right? And I think of two people who couldn't probably be further apart, but their connecting point is me. My person I would consider my first mentor, Dr. Boyd Tway, who was the head of the African American Psychology Department at Sinclair in Dayton, where I'm originally from. Him connecting with me at that period in life in which he did help push me into the work that I do today. I wouldn't be community-based. I wouldn't be working with people. I wouldn't be doing anything what I'm doing if his mentorship at that critical stage in my life wasn't there. And I also, one of my professors, Dr. Keith Doubt, at Wittenberg University, he was my sociology professor. He's a white man. His expertise is in Bosnian studies, right? But he calls me his son. He treats me like I'm his family. When I come to Dayton, I visit him and his wife and we hang out so I don't look at it like that. And he knows my affinity. He actually taught African-American social thought class, right? So he understands to as much as he can and tries to understand what that experience is and why I'm dedicated to what I'm dedicated to. And he's always supported that, never questioned that, right? So it's important, again, the first couplet of M's is your mindset and having mentors to help cultivate that mindset. But to be clear, there's no better mentor than the one you have internally and being connected to your higher source. But I just want to make sure I throw that out there as well. The second couplet is a movement towards moments, right? And what I mean by that is take action. Many of us have moments and opportunities for greatness and success, and we don't move that way, right? We don't move towards action. We move away from it. We shy up, we ball up, we're fearful, not even just of failure, right? But we're fearful of success. And that fear of success keeps us from even taking action. We're paralyzed by the thought of what if everything I want in my life came true? What if it came true? You know what I'm saying?
Let that breathe, bro.
Oh, I'm sorry. When the pastor say you preaching, you know, you God bless you, brother. God bless you, brother. That means a lot. I don't even think you understand. So that means a whole lot coming from you.
Bro, I'm taking notes. This going. You don't preach from the pulpit, but this will.
Amen.
I'm gonna give you credit the first time I use it.
Hey man, let the Lord work. I don't be tripping, man. I'm not tripping, which leads me to the point, right? We moving towards moments of opportunity, and all of us are here because I'm trying to say this when I get too emotional. All of us are here. We're all a mashup of all of these experiences, right? And the things that we do that matter because we take action and we move, right? There's a phrase that I don't know, I can't off the top of my head know where it is in the Bible, but they say it so much as cliche, right? The faith without works is dead. It's so cliche. People say it so much, it don't even mean nothing no more, right? People, faith without works dead. What does that mean? When you really look at it, when you say the faith without works part, yeah, you can believe in something. If you ain't moving towards it, what are you doing, right? But the last part is the part, I'm gonna touch on this as I close, is it didn't say it is stalled or it's delayed. No, it said it's dead. Died, not coming back. You can't resuscitate enacted faith because it's dead. When something dead, you can't bring it back unless you know, God, Jesus, whatever, but you understand my point. And so when opportunities come, when we raise our awareness to these opportunities for success, and we think about success oftentimes as these external trappings, right? Oh man, I can buy this new car, I can get this new polo shirt, I can get whatever it is that you desire. And I don't want to downplay anybody's, because we all have things we want. But when I mean opportunities for success, I mean ways to step outside of our comfort zone, challenge our norm as we understand it, and stretch ourselves to a new understanding. That is an opportunity. It could be as simple as reaching out to somebody you haven't talked to in a long time because maybe y'all fell out about something real petty. That's a stretch. You don't have to do that. But when you do that, you develop yourself as a human. And for me, one of the biggest movements towards a moment I've taken is when I moved to Atlanta. Kev will attest to it the most. In Dayton, at the time I was there, before I left, I think I reached as high as I could reach as I was doing music at the time. So as far as what I was doing, I did the best I could do, right? And obviously, Atlanta is a bigger city than Dayton. There's more opportunity and things like that, but it's also harder, right? And if I shied away from the opportunity, even though I didn't succeed in the way I thought I would as a young man in my 20s, I have succeeded in so many other ways, and I've been able to help so many other people based on what I was able to step out and say, I believe enough in myself to take this opportunity and make something happen. And to me, the safest bet And the most fruitful bet will always be the one you place on yourself. I bet on me because I know what I'm made of. I know the cloth I'm cut from. I know the people's who bloodline who I carry. I respect my ancestors. I respect my higher power. And I know with that, I can't be stopped. I believe that. I may not always display that because some people, they just have a real intense energy and you just like, oh yeah, I don't always convey that. And that's intentional. But what I do know about myself and my story is that I have a track record of pushing through. And that track record of pushing through has helped so many other people push through. And that's why I continue to go, which leads me to my closing point. So the first couplet is mindset and mentors. The second couplet is movement towards moments. And the third and last couplet is memento mori. Now, this is a concept, right? It's a Latin term that means remember, you have to die, or remember you're mortal. Where does this come from? Way back in Roman times, when successful people, they would have these parades for successful people. They would pay workers, I'm not going to call them slaves, they would pay workers to sit on the side and tell them in their ear, memento mori, remember you're going to die. All this stuff that you're seeing right here, it don't mean nothing because you're normal like everybody else, even me. Remember, you're going to die. Remember, you're going to die. What does that mean? What do I take from that? It means that no matter how high or how low I get, or how high or how low you get, we have an opportunity to do something in this moment. This moment is the only moment that counts. We think in our mind that one of the greatest lies we tell ourselves, and it's a comfortable lie, is that we have more time. I'll do it tomorrow. There's an old, is it Winans? Tomorrow, ain't that what it's called? But yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, no. I'll call Kev tomorrow. What if Kev ain't here tomorrow? I'm not speaking that on him. I'm just being honest. These things happen every day. You can see somebody, talk to them. I'm sure all of us, if we spend time, we think about somebody we talked to at one point in the day. Later in that day, you found out they're no longer with us. These things happen all the time. And when you do not take advantage of these opportunities that you have, these moments to connect, these moments to share your story, share what you have, you miss the opportunity to have something that lasts. And for me, that's what motivates my story. It's always motivated my story because I realize that this isn't promised. I'm not, as much as I would love to be here, live to be 175 years old, in reality, that's not true. I don't have 175 years. I do have 40 because I've already lived them. Prayerfully, I live to see another one. But my point is we spend so much time wasting energy on things that do not last. But your impact, the gifts you share, taking action, moving towards these moments, developing your mindset, engaging with mentors, finding people, developing your tribe, and just sharing your gifts with the world does last. Because ultimately, and we say this, and I'm sure the pastor has officiated many of these homegoing services. And I used to work in a funeral home for a period of time. And one thing I do know, many people don't prepare for funerals. They don't expect it coming. That's why they have fish fries and they have GoFundMe's and they take, hey, can you, excuse me, sir, can you donate $50? I got to bury my grandma's, right? Because you're not prepared for it, because you think you're going to be here. And it's really unfortunate that people don't prepare for the inevitable, but they don't live. How many people have we seen in their funeral and they just didn't live? They didn't live because they were so busy worried about things that do not last. Moods, emotions, these are fleeting things. But what lasts is what you believe in and what you stand on and the character that you possess. And I believe that as a man and as a human, my objective is to make this place better than when I got it. And that ultimately, Kev, when you ask me to talk about my story, that is ultimately my story, is that when I'm no longer here, prayerfully, it's no time soon, but that's not my call. So I can just make the most of the time I have now And that's what I choose to do. That is a conscious decision that I choose to make every day. Does that not mean we don't get caught up in the day-to-day stuff? Absolutely. You know, I got kids, I got wife, I got situations. Stuff don't work for me like it's supposed to all the time. Does that negate my mission? Absolutely not. And I take that mission very seriously. So I'll leave you all with this. And if there's any questions or anybody want to ask me anything or whatever, there's a quote that I want to leave you all with. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and think. And that's a quote from Marcus Aurelius. You could leave right now. So let that determine how you moving forward. Let that determine the type of person you want to be. If this was it, this is how I wanted to go. For me, how I was living at a period of my life was not. So I always challenge myself to be better. I challenge you all to be better. I thank you for your time. And that's all I really have, son.
Yo, bro, I appreciate you, man, coming on and dropping them. I got a question for you, though.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What do you tell a young man that walks up to you and has a father that is similar to you, to what you had?
Sure.
And he's going through some of the same situations that you went through as a child. What do you tell him now because of the man that you are, as opposed to where your mind was when you were his age?
Some wounds don't heal. And you have to be okay with that. No matter how many ways you try to fill that hole, sometimes it just doesn't heal. No matter how many women you sleep with, how many drugs you ingest, how much food you eat, how handsome you think you are, how much inflated ego you tell yourself, how much money you make, how many houses you get, how many cars you have, none of that will fill that hole that is missing. I have found there's only one thing that can potentially fill that hole. And I want to make sure I'm clear, is you believing in something greater than yourself. Whatever that may be for people, that's not my place to judge. Because if you don't, and you feel like you can heal yourself through these fleeting things, you're wasting time. And by the time you figure out all the stuff you did that you thought was making you feel better about a person who's supposed to love and care for you not doing that, you're pushing yourself further away from your purpose. So I tell any young man, and I see many young men who have this same pain, is to invest in you, developing yourself. Love who loves you. Give the gold stars to the people in your life who deserve them. We put shoulds on a lot of stuff. Well, my dad should, my mama should, my grandma should. Whose expectations are you holding them to? People are people that are going to do what people do. I would tell any young person that where you are now is not where you're going to be, but the choices that you make now can definitely impact where you're going to be. If you choose to let anger and hate fuel you, at a point, you'll realize that's not going to be enough. If you don't heal, spend your energy towards healing, you will hurt more people through your dysfunction, because you make a conscious choice as a man to either build or destroy, as the lustrous Lola Lux would say. If you're not going to build, you destroying something. And you not doing anything is also destructive. And I would tell that young man, or the young Lamar, that something my grandfather told me that I didn't understand until I became a man. You can't lose love where there was no love in the first place. If a person loves you, you know they're going to show you. Even if it's wrong how they show you, they're going to show you that they love you in some way. If a person has repeatedly shown you how they feel about you. At a point, you can no longer invest energy in that relationship, even if it is a parent. Why? Because the energy you spend trying to invest in that relationship, you take away from developing your relationship with yourself. So I would tell that young person to lead with love. Know that you have to love you. Know that a person's lack of interest in you does not mean that you're any less worth it. It just simply means that they don't understand your worth, but that has nothing to do with you. Worry about what you can control, which is your responses, your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions, the work you put in on yourself, the value you give to the world. Everything else is outside of your control, including the decisions of another person. And yeah, for the sake of brevity, bro, that's where I would say it. I would say it a little more, what's the word I want to use? A little more, what's the young people say? With a little more sauce. I would say with a little more sauce. I was talking to a young person, but I would get my point across in such a way. That's what I would say.
I got one more question for you. I got one more.
Go right ahead, bro. This is your time. I'm just here to help.
What do you say to people who, I think we talked a little bit about it on Thursday, but in the Black community, we look to the Lord, right? You know, when anything happens in our life bad, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of times in the Black community, we are afraid to go to counseling or therapy because of how we were viewed, you know what I mean? Or how we viewed it, you know what I mean, coming up. Oh, you in counseling, so you crazy. Or you in therapy, so you crazy. Like, so what do you say to someone who is afraid possibly of, you know, I guess, you know, when you get in counseling, a lot of old things show up. You know, we have that trauma where a lot of times, like, you can ask somebody, or you know somebody that something may have happened to, and then you ask them today, they be like, oh, that didn't happen. We put it away, but there's still hurt and pain there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you say to someone who is just not comfortable with counseling or therapy, and, you know, as far as, you know, the Black community?
I think of two brief things I've heard that I think one's a story and one's a phrase. Many years ago, when I was an undergrad, so definitely was many years ago, I won a scholarship for an organization, and at the banquet was Reverend Floyd Flake. He's a big pastor out of New York, but he was the president of Wilberforce at the time. And he said something that I'd never heard. Again, I was raised in the church, so I've heard a lot of sermons in my day. But one of the things that he said that I never heard at that time a man say was, you know, there's no guarantee that there's a heaven. We don't know. Nobody's ever come back and really told us. We don't know. We've never been. We don't know if there's a heaven. And I was like, where is he going with this? It threw me off, right? This is what he said. I never heard it put this way. But for sure, you're here. We're here right now. And you got to make the best of this while you're here. Because you can bring heaven to earth, or you can bring hell on earth. That choice is on you. And I meditated on that ever since I heard that probably 20 years ago. That if you spend time in the clouds, you're going to trip on a rock down here while you're walking somewhere. You can look in the clouds and walk enjoy the clouds. If you stay too much up there, you're going to miss something down here. Many of us stay in the clouds because we don't want to deal with what's here, what's present, what's now. Which leads me to my other point that you said about things that come up, things we may not want to face. And you may have heard me say this story before. But there's a fable, a parable, whatever, of this emperor. He liked playing these little, I guess, jokes or games or whatever on his subjects. So one day he buried a fortune in the middle of the main road, where he ruled, and he took a big boulder and he placed the boulder on top of this fortune. He's put it right in the middle of the busiest road. So he just sat in his palace day after day and watched people just like try to push the rock, try to move. They just could never do so. Eventually they just left the rock alone, until one day a guy kind of examines the rock and he's looking at it, and he takes a beam, creates a lever, props the rock up, finds the fortune, right? And that story is set up to discuss how the obstacles we face are the way to our success. If we don't face the things that frighten us, when you deal with a person who has severe anxiety, we do what's called exposure therapy, where bit by bit you expose a person to the thing they're afraid of, so eventually they realize it ain't that big of a deal, right? And not saying that things we experience aren't big deals, but what I am saying is that if we don't face what it is we're fearful of, we can't heal. If I don't go to the doctor and I have a cough and I keep coughing and I just, cause I'm cool, I'll take some NyQuil, I'll sleep on it, whatever, and I cough long enough until eventually, when I finally end up going to the doctor, oh, you got bronchitis, you got lung cancer, you got this, you got that, because we don't take care of it, right? We're afraid to go, but we don't want to hear what they say, right? You cannot allow fear to paralyze you. And I think that the fear of exposing yourself, being vulnerable with another human being is hard, but I can speak to this experience of counseling, this experience, not just from being a therapist, but sitting on the other side of the couch. You benefit from having somebody in your corner who has your back, A. B, from somebody who can help you identify some of the things you think and feel that are in misalignment with your higher purpose. Something that my therapist told me that I tell people all the time: you already come here perfect as you are. Not saying you're without flaw, but saying that you are good as you are. And my job is to, A, this is where my part comes in, to let you know when you say, when you act, when you think in ways that go against that greatness, that divinity, that perfection that's already there. So when you say certain things that don't even sound right, I have to address it. The other thing is to affirm in you what's already there. You're already dope. You're already great. Who doesn't need to hear every now and then, yo, you're dope, man. You're doing great stuff. Yeah, you may have this, that, and the third going on, but as you are right now, you're already amazing. And that doesn't mean there's not work to do. That doesn't mean you haven't been through anything. That doesn't mean you don't have pain. Quite the contrary. You do, and still you overcame. That's what the counseling experience is supposed to be. I admit, not everybody gets that experience. I admit, sometimes you sit across somebody who doesn't understand. I admit, sometimes you come across people who just trying to get a check. And I feel terrible for those people. But I speak for myself and those of us in my profession, and even in the spiritual realm, like pastor, things like that. There are those of us who do this because we don't know what else to do. I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't be anything but a therapist. I've tried it. It didn't work for me, right? And I'm sure, much like you, Pastor, it's the same thing. I can't, what are you going to do? Sell cars? Like, what are you going to do? He's a pastor. That's what he is. He'll be at the pre-selling cars. Hey, brother, let me just tell you about this man called Jesus. Like, that's what you're going to do. You know what I'm saying? So my point is, for those of us who really about this work, like, it hurts me that people have the experiences that they have, and there are people who are still apprehensive about this counseling experience because they met the wrong person, they've been around, whatever. But ultimately, bro, something that my grandfather, may he rest with the ancestors, would say is that I would much rather, I'm a parallel. I would much rather live my life the right way and find out there ain't none than live my life the wrong way and find out there is a heaven or hell, right? And what I mean by that is I'd much rather try to get the help I need. I would try to work through my problems. I would try to talk to somebody. I would try counseling. I would try going to church or going to the temple or the mosque, whatever it is you do. I would try to give back to my community. I would try to go to my doctor. I would try to be a good husband or wife, or try to be a good father or mother. I would try to be a good son, grandson, nephew, uncle, goddad, OG, big bruh, whatever. Did not to. And therapy is just one of those pathways to be able to access that better part of yourself. And that's what I do. And then I speak for those of us in my profession and parallel professions who do that. I know that was a long answer, but y'all got me on the road. You woke me up from the nap, so you gonna get everything I was sleeping on. So
nah, that's it for me, bro. I just wanted to, because I feel like people need to hear that, man. I thought you were going to go into something your dad told you when it came to the scripture that he quoted to you when you were a kid, but
I mean,
we ain't got to go there. You know what I'm
saying? Because ultimately, that moment in time shaped who I am today. And without going through that experience, I wouldn't be here. And I can look back based on my mindset now and be grateful for it, because it taught me something. And I'm able to connect with other people based on an experience I had. And something that I'm gonna close with, sir, is that the devil don't need no help, man. So I don't need to advocate for the devil. You ain't gonna get the devil no space. So we just gonna do what we do. Keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe in being the devil's advocate.
That's right.
I mean, so the devil don't need no help. He got
help.
it.
You're right. He got it.
So ain't nobody need to go there.
No, listen, bro. I thank you, man, for even coming on and get, bro. You, man. Every time I look forward to hearing you talk, bro, because it's therapy for me. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, thanks, man. I'm so blessed to hear that.
For sure, I appreciate you, bro. Yeah. Anybody got any questions for Lamar at all? Anything?
How do people go about getting therapy?
How people go about? You mean specifically, or? Help me
specifically
understand.
or through the organization that you're with?
Okay. Thank you. That's a good question. So I partner with the Total Access Foundation down here in Atlanta. And our objective is to provide access to mental health services and reduce the barriers to just that inroad into therapy. And that's the totalaccessfoundation.org. For me, you can reach out, lewisfamilyconsulting.net. But if you're looking to me specifically for therapy, obviously there's a lot of red tape due to legalities, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, if you reach out to me, even if I can't help you specifically, put my information there. I can help guide you in that direction more offline. There's a lot of different resources that are available that, sometimes I'm not able to facilitate what a person needs. So, I have no problem. I have a big network, make referrals and things like that. So, yeah. So, but I'll put my info in the chat. Hopefully that'll at least facilitate the conversation if you all are interested in further, discussion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anybody else? Anything? Okay, man. We look like we Gucci, bro. But listen, man, I always, bro, appreciate you, and big things are coming. That's all I'm gonna say.
Indeed. I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna shut up and listen,
Yeah,
because
big thing.
I know we got the home run hitter coming in, so I'm just gonna just sit back and just. I'm excited to hear, bro. For real, man. You know, I'm just gonna. But thank you. I appreciate everybody, man, for sure.
Yes, sir. Pastor Lance Purnell, you have the floor. You know, everybody, he gonna give us a word. You know, there's not a way that he can explain anything without giving the word in the middle of that. So we're gonna let him rock. We're gonna let him do his thing. I ain't even gonna listen. You just tell me when you're done. I'm not saying nothing.
First, I just like to thank my cousin Kev for providing this platform. It's very I know how hard it is to put on a program. You know, the behind the scenes things that you got to do, and everything of that. So I just want to encourage you to keep going, keep pushing. And, you know, this is only the beginning. You know, I like to thank Lamar. Appreciate you. I always enjoy it. And I when I see you on the fly, I get excited. Yeah, I mean, my man. I know you drop gems, and you know, you can say you ain't preaching, but you preaching, bro. So I thank you. I thank everybody that's on the call. I apologize that I got on late. I had to jump into pastoral duties at the last minute, so I do apologize. Amen. But so this was a topic that I said I'm not going to write no notes on. And, you know, so one of the things at the church, we say we humble, open, and transparent. So I'm going to be all of those things. And Kev said, just talk about your life and stuff like that. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, well, I'm going to give you this quote first that I heard. Somebody said, what would you want them to say on your eulogy? For your eulogy, what would you want them to say about you at your funeral? And what you want them to say at your funeral? Are you living like that? You know, because we got to start with what do we want our end to be? You know, we have to set a goal. We have to have some type of plan, some type of result that we want the end to be. Now, are you living and making necessary steps and adjustments to become that? Or is that just a fantasy? You know, and I'm gonna start and talk about my growing up. But I think sometimes, you know, when you get to a certain point, if you're not careful, your story or your testimony starts to get a little bit embarrassing. So we never really say it. But you know, I grew up in the hood like most people have. You know, I went through that season. I don't have that same thing when my dad wasn't there, but I did go through a season. My dad was there, but my dad was an alcoholic. He was a drug addict and things of that sort. So it was times where I lived in a house that just was a house. I thank God for the roof over my head, but that was all it was. It didn't have no lights, no gas, no heat, no water, no nothing. And you know, those are some of the struggles that I I went through growing up. So what was naturally to me, I turned to the streets and did everything that I was big enough and bad enough to do. One of the things that I grew up, man, I resented my family, yo. You know, a lot of people don't know that, but I resented my family. And it was just like, because after I realized, I just thought that no one thought that I was worth anything. Like nobody in my family, like it wasn't nothing that I couldn't do that people just wouldn't accept. There was no expectation. There was no nothing. So I just felt like, you know, no one thought that I would be anything, you know, and just, you know, living life, not expecting to live. You know, I at some point I knew that I was going to die. You know what I mean? So whatever happened didn't matter. Whatever I did didn't matter. I was reckless. I was fearless. I was everything. And I was just risking my life because I thought that I was going to die. I had older church folk that lived on my block tell me I wasn't going to make it to 21. You know what I mean? And I think, I was failing in school. I was in my second year, 9th grade, getting ready to fail again. And I was high. So I was hungry and I ain't had no money. And I had something on my roster called culinary arts. And one of the young ladies that I was hanging out with at the time was like, "Oh man, I'm about to go to culinary arts and get something to eat." And I was like, "Well, how you gonna eat in art class?" I didn't even know it was. She was like, "That's cooking." So I said, "All right." Well, I was hungry. I went to cooking class, and it was my actual homeroom teacher. So when she was taking roll and things like that, so I raised my hand, and I said, she just called my name out, just calling it. And when I said here, she said, "Stand up." She said, "Boy, you're my homeroom teacher, my homeroom class." She was from down south. She was like, "You better get your hind parts to my advisory every day. I don't care if you don't go to no other class." And that was the first time in my life somebody had like positive expectations for me. So now I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm out, with the file. I said, "Listen, I'll be right back. I gotta go to homeroom." I mean, I would go to homeroom, leave, we would do what we do. I would get back enough time to go to her class, which was like the end of the day. And that lady, changed my life around because she wouldn't accept nothing. She didn't see me as a failure or anything like that. She just was like, "You can do these things." And that level of expectation, one day she told me to be to school at 6 o'clock in the morning because she wanted me to cook for the mayor. And I was like, "Lady, you lost your mind. 6 o'clock in the morning, and I ain't never said nothing to my parents about it. I never said nothing to my mom. I live with my mom. I never said nothing to her about it, things of that sort, And I just woke up that morning and went to school left the house at 5 o'clock in the morning, walked to school and got there. And from that moment on, just that little bit of expectation had changed my life. From that moment on, I started going to school. I was hanging out. I said, "Listen, I'm about to go to class." So I got to go to class. If it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have graduated high school. And just, I went to school. I was still doing my thing. Still, I was selling drugs. I was doing all kinds of other stuff. And one day I was, hanging out, and people in my crew, started getting hunted down. I think they killed, had some beef with some Jamaicans, and they killed 3 of them, 3 people in the crew. And I was like, I ran to the Army. I mean, I was scared to death. I told the recruit, I just so happened that he gave me his card like the day before. I called him up and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna come down, take the test." I took the test, passed the test. I was like, "All right, come on, I want to go." He was like, "Well, you can leave next month." I said, "I ain't gonna make it till next month." He said, "Well, we got a class that's gonna leave next week." I said, "I ain't gonna make it till next week." I was scared to death. You know what I mean? And it was the first time in my life that I actually wanted to live. You know what I mean? That I was scared to die. And I was probably 19 or 20. And that recruiter, he came and got me. And I left that weekend. He put me in a hotel room for 3 days because I didn't think that I was going to make it to the weekend. He put me in a hotel room for 3 days until the thing left. And, I went to the military, came back, and it changed my whole perspective on life. I came back and went to the corner. I said, "Man, I can't do this." And I went to this church called It used to be called Gethsemane when my dad took me there when I was like 8. But when I came back from the military, they had moved and it was now called B.A.R.S. And I found them, went there, started going to church, and like, you know, it just like what something that Lewis said, I did everything in my power not to be like my dad. I mean, so you would never hear me sing. You would never see me pick up any musical instrument. You know what I mean? You would never see me pick up any alcohol or pick up or a cigarette or anything. I mean, I would never do drugs. Like I didn't want to be like him to the point where I did everything in my power to do everything opposite of him. And and that was you know, when you feel like, you know, when you feel like your family could care less if you live or you die, you know, it's a tough space to be in because you feel like you ain't got nobody. And I think that was the most the hardest thing that I had to deal with after I got saved. I got saved, you know, as men, we compartmentalize things. So I put that in the vault, locked it off, and was moving forward. But I got to a certain point in life where I could not go any further in life without addressing this. You know what I mean? Because it would hinder any type of relationship that I would have. You know what I mean? I couldn't have a committed relationship with a woman because the love that was trying to change, it would bring up that insecurity. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't get close to anybody really that wasn't like, I couldn't get close to no type of father figure. You know what I mean? Because it was like, you know, oh no, it just, and not that I thought that they was bad. Not that I thought that all people were bad and stuff like that. I just didn't want to deal with the pain that I would have to endure to heal. You know, when you get surgery on something, it probably don't hurt as bad when you get the surgery. After you come out of surgery, it hurt even worse than before you went in. I mean, and the healing process hurts. And a lot of times we try to avoid the pain of the healing. So we rather you can be hurt. You can be not hurt. You can be hurt, but not in pain. I mean, you can be wounded, but not in pain. And we rather be broken without pain instead of go through the healing process because it's going to bring up the pain. And that was the crossroad that I was at. And it was a decision that I mean, my family knows some of them on here. You know what I mean? I went through a phase for years. No one seen me. I mean, it was years where no one seen me. And I was in church. You know what I mean? I was in church. I was growing. I was getting closer to God. I was trying to live the best I could, doing all these things. But I couldn't expose myself. I wouldn't expose myself to family because I felt like the pain that I got from that situation was just too much, and it would stunt my growth. And it's a shame because, you know, and sometimes it's real life situations that dictate that. And, you know, you have the enemy that play on your mind that make something small become something big. And because what you don't address, you know, if you don't address it in the beginning, it'll grow to something very big, and that becomes your giant. I just, it was something that I just had to work on, and I had to be willing to endure some pain and stuff like that. I thank God that I did it now. Because the relationships and stuff that I had with my family and stuff like that now is just tremendous. Me and my dad have an excellent relationship. Me and my brother, anybody know, me and my brother, man, they know every time we got together, we would fight. You know what I mean? He couldn't say nothing to me. I was swinging first and tried to keep swinging till I was the last one. I mean, we knocked over Christmas trees. You know what I mean? You fought on Christmas at grandma's house. So like, it was just that sense of, I don't know if he felt the same way, but I felt like I wasn't treated like everybody else was treated. You know what I mean? I felt like they had expectations for other people, which made it worse. If it wasn't an expectation for nobody, then that was just what the family was. But for the fact that it was expectations for others, nobody really cared. You know what I mean? I went to Jersey for a summer when I was 14 years old, and ain't nobody care. You know what I mean? Like, I could disappear for weeks at a time at the age of 13, 12, like, and would nobody care. You know what I mean? Wouldn't nobody say that. And I come back and they'd be like, hey, where you at? You know what I mean? Like, wasn't nobody looking for you. You know what I'm saying? And as I raised my son, I'm like, man, I don't even understand what we was thinking. I don't even understand how I could leave the house as a freshman, 14 years old, to go to school at like 4:30 in the morning, and my mom not know or ever say anything else about it. You know what I mean? Like, this was like, I was just like, and it was, it was just tough mentally. And I probably should have sat on somebody's couch and talked about it, but I never got that opportunity because, it just a lot of things just wasn't an option for me, so, but it was the moment, and so for me, it's like, God really saved my life. You know what I mean? Jesus really saved my life because it allowed me to open up and to, deal with some past pain and past traumas and stuff like that. And, I growing up, I could literally count. I know how many times my dad ever told me he loved me. You know what I mean? Like I literally know. You know what I mean? And it's on one hand. You know what I mean? That my father told me he loved me. You know what I mean? And being a father now, like today, I just came from, my son just lost the championship game. You know what I mean? And he was on the field. I mean, boo hooing. You know what I mean? I let him, I'll give him space. Kids, family was all out there, stuff like that. But it wasn't until his father came out there and I pulled him away from everybody. I said, hey, man, I love you. You know what I mean? And I'm proud of you. Good season. You know what I'm saying? You matured. You grew up and you've advanced so much in the season. One game, one moment doesn't define the whole season. I mean, now let's get it together. And after that conversation, we went and was able to, he got himself together and was able to talk to he had like former teammates from his Pop Warner team that was on the other team. So we went over there and talked to them and stuff like that. But like, it was the affirming of a father that a lot of us don't get, that a lot of us are missing, And I think about how I'm hands-on with my son. I shaped him, I molded him. He is, like the tenacity and a lot of things that he get from me. And I know we say that I know we say that when you know I didn't when fathers aren't there, because my father was there, but he wasn't present. You know, me growing up. But when fathers aren't there, I think it was better for him to even be there than just not be there at all. But when fathers aren't there, one thing I know, you have to trust God, that He has a plan for you, and I'm not taking them off the hook. They should have been there. They should have, you know. But one man's bad decision shouldn't define who you are. And sometimes it would be better. It would be better for you to deal with the pain of His absence than the consequences of His presence. Because I look at how much influence and impact I have on my son. And some of the men that walked away, the influence and impact that they would have had over us if they would have been there every step of the way, like we wanted them to be, would have been detrimental to us. You know? You know, oh man, no, I just like and I feel like it's a strong attack. It's a strong attack on our mental that we have, because you know we just gotta allow ourselves to not make excuses. You know, I understand that life does happen and we conquer things and stuff like that, but we gotta show resiliency. And I had one of these games just came out. What game came out? I'm not sure what game it was. I don't play games though. But I don't play games, not because I don't like games. If you're a gamer, be a gamer. But one time I got on the game and I missed the whole day, and I couldn't, you know, I don't know. I ain't eat. I ain't use the bath. I ain't did nothing. I was like, whoa, I did never. This ain't for me. I was like, whoa, you know. I was on the game. It was 8 hours later. I said, oh. And I was in my player mode, right, on 2K, right. I was on my player mode, and I started out at the bottom rookie mode, and I ain't had nothing and stuff like that, and I was so willing to get my player up to this certain level that I spent hours just playing and developing my player. And, you know, I went into the, what's it called? When you go and you play with other players in the court and you can play against and
you went to the rack. That's where you went.
All right. So we went to the rack and you could play against other people. And I seen somebody, their level was way high. And I was like, man, I got to get my player to that level. And I was investing all of this time. It was certain times that I had to, like, I had to pay some money to get certain things. And it was crazy because I was willing to invest all of these things. I was willing to invest all of these things into my player. And when I got off that game and I stepped away and I said, man, I invested time, energy, and money into an avatar, but unwilling to do the same thing for me. Because even though I may be at the bottom level in life, if you started with absolutely nothing, You can look at somebody and say, I want to be that. And if you put the same time, effort, energy, invest the money into you, eventually you will get to a level where you can look at yourself and say, I'm proud of that. You know what I mean? I'm proud of that. And we do it with games and we do it with everything else. But for some reason, we don't have enough self-esteem. And I'm gonna say this tomorrow. So if y'all listen tomorrow, you know, y'all just, you know what I mean, but I gotta say it, but you know, act like y'all heard it for the first time. I don't know if my church on here. I gotta see. I don't know if my wife on here. But I'm gonna say it tomorrow. But one of the things, it says gifts and callings come without repentance. So the enemy can't ungift you. So because he can't ungift you, he tries another strategy. So because he can't take your competence, he tries to take your confidence. So because he can't take your competence, he takes your confidence. So you'll have all of the tools and the resources that you need within inside of you. But because you have no confidence in you, you'll never use them. You know, and a lot of times we have everything that we need to get to where we need to get to. But because we have no confidence in ourselves, we have no confidence in our own ability, we look at ourselves, you know, well, since, you know, I'm gonna throw this out there. In Numbers 13, the Israelites, the children of Israel did not go into Canaan because of how they saw God. They did not go into the promised land because they didn't see God right. They saw God right. They didn't get into the promised land because they saw themselves wrong. It said, we see ourselves as grasshoppers in our own sight. So it wasn't the giant that was in the land, it was the grasshopper that was in their head that kept them from entering into the promised land. And we have to get out our own way. We have to get out our own way, you know, and that was one of the things that helped me tremendously go forward. You know what I mean? I think Lamar said this earlier. I went from I was so unconfident as a pastor when I first started pastoring that I questioned everything that I did. I mean, I would question sermons. I would get done preaching. I would get done, as soon as I get done preaching, I would go to my wife and say, how was that? And she'd be like, what? I was like, how was that? You know, you think I did good? I don't know. And it wasn't until it clicked in me like, this is not something that I do. It's who I am. So even if I don't pastor, I found myself, you know, I'll preach a sermon in the middle of work. You know what I mean? I give you a word in the middle of work. And I think that you know, our people, especially Black people, suffer from that confidence. You know what I mean? Suffer from the confidence, because if we can get that confidence that we're, you know, God tells us who we are. We're heirs and joint heirs. Head, not tail, above, not beneath. You know, lender, not to borrow. He tells us these things for a reason, because he wants you to have that confidence, not in you. My dog messing with me. Not in you, but in him. And once I got to that point, you know, it was just a relief of, this is not something I do. This is who I am, and understand that some people I'm going to be for them, and some people not going to like it. but it don't make it any less on me. I mean, I can do what I do. I mean, everybody ain't gonna like you. Everybody, you're not gonna be the pastor for everybody. And you know what I mean? You're not gonna be, you know, the person for everybody. You're not gonna be the friend for everybody, but the people that you're designed and created to be, those are the ones that you'll have the greatest impact on. But we gotta be true to ourselves, you know, to impact the people that we're supposed to impact. And I'm gonna leave off with this. I gotta give you a scripture. So I just want to say, so it says when I was a child, I thought as a child, I understood as a child, I spoke as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. And I want to talk about the duality of that situation, because he was a man and still had childish ways. Because it said, when I became a man, I then put away childish things. You can be a man and still be childish in certain areas. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have to grow into it, you know, and we have to understand that there are going to be ways that we have to put away. I mean, the three areas: think, speak, and understand. I mean, the first thing we got to do is we got to start thinking like men. The way a man thinks is with the thought process of responsibility. I mean, we have to understand that I can't make excuses. It doesn't matter what anybody else did to me, what they didn't do for me. As a man, I got to take responsibility and do what I got to do to make it necessary for me and the people that I'm responsible for to have the best lifestyle that they can. I mean, the second thing we have to do is speak. You know, when you speak, you know, a lot of times you can and be in the right. And sometimes we'll be, as a child, you'll just want to express your rightness. I mean, but as a man, you don't just want to be right. I mean, you want to be righteous. And sometimes being righteous is humbling yourself and not driving home the point, because sometimes you driving home the point, you can break the spirit of the other person. I mean, so sometimes even in your rightness as a man, you got to understand, even though I'm right, I have to enter into it with a certain level of humility. I mean, I have to enter into it with a certain level of humility. I got to think of others before I think of myself. What I'm about to say, how is this going to impact and affect the person that I'm getting ready to say it to? That's speaking as a man, maturity. For the women that's on the line, that's maturity. You know, I ain't going to exclude y'all, you know what I mean? Especially since my cousin's on here commenting. But maturity. And the last thing is understanding. I mean, we get into most conflict and stuff like that based off of the fact that it's just a misunderstanding. I mean, because I used to get upset because, man, I can't even understand why you would do something like that. I mean, and when I couldn't understand why you would do something like that, the only thing that I could reason is the fact that it was disrespect. Disrespect was not tolerated. So now we got to go to blows. I mean, but when you can get understanding, you know, of the situation, understanding does not mean agreement. I mean, I can understand why you did this. Doesn't mean that it was right. Doesn't mean that I think it was right. I just can have understanding of it because I can understand your situation and your circumstance, your background, your this. I mean, certain people, I can understand why they sell drugs. Don't make drug dealing right. don't mean I agree with the drug dealing, but I can understand dealing with your background, your situation, your circumstance, and where you come from. You need to make money, and you thought that that was your only means that you could. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I can understand it. So if I can understand it, I can then address the issue from the root of the issue, you know, and that's something that I think as men we need to get that understanding, the way we think, the way we speak, and the way we understand. Because a lot of times that we having the problem that we have with these young people, because we ain't trying to take that time to understand them. We just trying to talk to them, talk at them, and never listening to what they got to say. They don't feel like they heard. They don't feel like they seen. And listen, man, I know what it's like to not feel like you heard, not feel like you seen. So you just do whatever you want to do. And sometimes you press the envelope to see if they're going to say something. Do you see me now? Do you hear me now? And you just go unheard. So I think if we could just, take that little bit of advice or whatever it was to deal with our young people, even our family. It's a leadership thing, and we can use it in our homes, in our relationships, with our kids, with whoever. Let's understand, let's speak, and let's think differently. That was it. I'm done. Any questions?
I got one question.
Go ahead.
What would you tell the 14-year-old you today if you could talk to him?
Okay, you killing me with these questions, Ted. Man, what would I tell the 14-year-old me?
Yeah, the one that thought that his family didn't care about him.
I would tell the 14-year-old me that don't take it personal. They doing the best they can with the situation they dealt with the tools that they got, and with the information that they had, and with all the struggles and the problems that they got going through themselves. They being the best version of themselves at that moment to you. And it's not that they don't love you. It's not that they don't care. It's that they just don't know how to properly do it. And don't take it personal.
Word. Mark, got a question.
Go ahead, Mark.
I just would like to request a trade of information. If you can borrow some of my talking points, even exchange, we go barter.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm taking notes. I just want you to know that it's reciprocal. So don't give me out. Like I'll say, I'll give you credit, but I'll be like, yeah, man, I heard this brother say,
I'm gonna give you first and last name. The first time Lamar Lewis said this. Next time it's gonna be Lamar. The third time it's gonna be Mar. Then the next time is mine.
This guy, yeah.
Right. I heard this somewhere.
I ain't just.
No, and one of the things I thought about, I thought about a lot of stuff leading up to this. And one of the things that I was going to do is I was going to, I just knew that my Aunt Carmen was going to be on the call, so I ain't want to, but I was going to, I wasn't going to use a Bible verse, but I was going to preach a sermon from a scripture of coming from DJ Khaled. God did. And,
you love DJ Khaled. He on here.
So I was going to use his lyrics as the actual scripture. And one of the things that he said, it breaks my heart that they didn't believe in us. And that was one of my struggles with. that it broke my heart, really, that the people closest to me didn't believe in me, and to take rest in the fact that even though they didn't, God did. And, he thought it not robbery to put certain people in place and, push me to certain directions. And sometimes it was pain that pushed me in certain directions. And it was, it was relationships that pushed me in certain directions. And it was things that God put in place to get me to a place that I never thought I would be. I remember I told my pastor, I don't want to be no minister. I said, I ain't never going to be no minister because I don't want to be like them. I said, I don't, hey, because they wrote me off for things I didn't write back.
Smith.
Yeah, Geno Smith. And I just, I tell my church, I said, listen, I didn't outkick my coverage. I mean, my own personal ability, I passed that a while ago. I mean, it's all God right now. And I know it is. You know what I mean? I know that I can't run I can't even live in the house that I live in. You know what I mean? Coming from where I come from, you just don't do it. You know what I mean? It just, God did it. When everybody else wrote you off, when everybody else said, oh, it's over, God said, no, I got a plan.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you got to be careful because God got a plan for you. And the same way that God got a plan for you, people got a plan for you. I mean, they'll put you right in the box. And that's their plan for you. You ain't never going to be nothing. We're going to put you here and let you just waste your life away. And if you don't understand who you are and whose you are, then you'll accept that plan, And it was an encounter that I had with God. I just, man, it got to be more than this. And it was one day I made up in my mind. And I think it's John B. Key song. Let's say 99 and a half won't do. And I just said, man, I want everything you got for me, God. I said, Lord, I want to be great. I was in the shower. I said, I want to be great. And I heard it like it was, he said, all right, it's in you, but I got to pull it out of you and it's going to hurt. And I said, I want it. I didn't know it was going to hurt that much, but it hurt though. But it is worth it, And a lot of us live our lives not pursuing purpose, but avoiding pain. And I'm telling you, if you would embrace the pain, go through the pain, what's on the other side of pain is the promise.
Mm.
What's on the other side of pain is the promise. And if you willing to endure that pain and go through that pain, it's so I'm gonna say this because I never said this yet. So I want this to be like my slogan for my young people, but it's up from here. And up is an acronym for unlimited possibilities.
Mm.
I mean, so I don't care what happened before we got to this point. Once you get here, it's up from here. I don't care how you was raised. I don't care what your mama did, what your daddy did, what anybody else did. I don't care what level of education you got or don't got. Whatever you get, it's up from here. Your possibilities is unlimitless. Let's take the limits off, God. Let's take the limits off of you. I mean, let's take the limits off ourselves. I mean, and I think that's just I'm done. What you got?
Well, I mean, it's only one more thing to say here. The doors of the church are open. Is there somebody today that wants to give their life to God? No. No, because listen, I appreciate. Listen, every time I have something, I gotta have like y'all my go-to. You and Lamar. You know what I mean? I always add somebody else in the mix, but I feel like it's very important. You know, y'all two are easy. You get the your message out easy, and you know what I mean. You're relatable, so and that's very important. You know what I'm saying? Especially for people that come in that don't really, you know, you never know where if they Christians or you never know, what type of background, their lifestyle, they come from. So, I just really wanted to. I didn't know your life story, so you know what I'm saying. I really wanted to hear it. Number one, and yeah, I appreciate you.
Listen, hey, Kev, the first guy that spoke, I need to link up with him.
Alex, I got you. Yeah, he in Philly.
I need to link up with him. Yeah, he in Philly. I need to link up with him.
I got you.
I
got you. I'll make it happen.
He good dude. I need to link up. Lamar, we're gonna have to link up too. Yeah. I come to Atlanta, you come to Philly. We got to link up though.
Hey man, I'm down for the get down, brother. You know what I'm saying? I never been to Philly, I never been. The only closest I've been is listening to rap songs, man. So I just know where not to go based on the rap songs and watching battle rap. So, I'm down for the get down. You know what I'm saying? We'll take a trip. I'm down for a trip. Anytime anybody want to come to Atlanta, I can at least tell you where to eat. I can't tell you what side of town I can be in and what to eat. I got you. Let's do it.
My bad.
Indeed.
Glasses in the air. Toast to a higher power. Cause what you tuning into right now is Lito's Happy Hour. Lito's Happy Hour, this is where it's at. Rolling uncut, we giving real facts. Educating, entertaining all the people. And when it come to podcasts, it ain't nothing equal. Giving people knowledge they can put in action. All the way authentic, we ain't never capping. Exclusive interviews, cause we ain't never lacking. The other state is talking and we bout the action. Glasses in the air. Toast to a higher power. This is Lito's Happy Hour.